Let's bring you more on this situation. We're joined on the program by former Commissioner for Information in Kogi State, Mr. Kingsley Fawo. He joins us virtually on the program. Welcome to Lunchtime Politics, Mr. Fawo.
Thank you very much. I am still the current Commissioner for Information and Communications in Kogi State.
Apologies for that. Former governor, but you are the current commissioner. Just pardon me. There's lots of things happening right now. But let's start with the big one. And that is the fact that the EFCC vehemently said that the current governor whom you work with now, Governor Ododo, came in and he was instrumental to whisking away former governor Yaya Bello. I'd like you to respond to that because that is a major one and even played out at the court with the lawyer saying, well, someone with immunity was responsible for whisking away former governor Yaya Bello. Mr. Fawo, is that true?
Thank you very much. It's unfortunate that we have been dragged into this once again. I mean, the Kogi State government. The allegation by the FCC is laughable. How were they even aware? How sure were they that the former governor was in his residence? They were not sure. And also, they were not sure whether the current governor went in to whisk him away. So the allegation is false. The governor of the state, His Excellency Alhaji Ahmed Usman Ododo, is a law-abiding citizen, a leader who respects the rule of law and constitutionalism. So he's not going to be involved in that kind of thing. So saying that is ludicrous, is laughable, and it's one of the most frivolous things I've heard from the EFCC, the repertoire of a lot of frivolities of recent. So I am saying categorically that the governor did not do such things. It was another misrepresentation of fact, disinformation, misinformation by the FCC to achieve their aims.
Whom you worked with also, if he wasn't whisked away by Governor Ododo, does that mean he was in that apartment, he slept in that apartment? And that will beg the question, why wasn't he in court today?
I am not responsible for knowing where the governor sleeps. I think his personal aides and his family members are responsible for that. What I'm saying is that the governor did not whisk him away from anywhere. And I'm also sure that the former governor is not evading any kind of arrest. He's not running away from anyone. And, we would look at the law courts and see what they are doing. A lot of things are happening right now concerning the issue. And, there was a subsisting injunction by a competent court of jurisdiction. A suit was filed by the former governor for the protection of his fundamental human right to restrain the EFCC of him. And, the court granted the interim injunction pending when the substantive suit will be heard and determined. And immediately that was done, the EFCC lawyers decided to file an appeal against that interim injunction. So they cannot claim not to know there was an injunction because you cannot be appealing what you are not aware of. So an appeal was filed at the appeal court in Abuja against that interim injunction. And the appeal court said they didn't grant their prayers that the injunction should be set aside. They said they would hear the substantive suit. And they fixed April 22nd. I think it's going to be on Monday to hear the suit. But before the time, the EFCC decided to create their own law by going to have its content on its own, because you cannot be disregarding court judgment. So that is content. So the governor is not even aware that anybody wants to arrest him because he's protected by the law. He's protected by the courts. Except we want to say that we have descended to a state of anomy or state where the decision of the law court does not matter again.
Are you also aware that the EFCC got an order of the Federal High Court to go ahead and arrest the former governor?
Thank you very much. I read about it. I've not seen it, so I can't categorically say that they actually got an order. But when you have court processes, yesterday they were at the residence of the former governor, I was told they got there at about 9 a.m. in the morning. And as at 3 p.m., they were still shopping for an order that would grant them the powers to arrest him. So why did they go to his house before seeking the constitutional powers to be able to do that? So it is unfortunate. How were they so sure that they were going to be granted? And they went ahead to stay in his house waiting for that order to be granted by the Federal High Court. And as you are aware, even before that, a state high court that granted the restraining injunction in the first place also had the substantive suit and decided in favor of the former governor from arresting him or any members of his family and even the government officials that work with him. It was a fact. And, you know, now the Federal High Court they were able to procure another order from that place. There are courts of coordinate jurisdiction. And, you know, what is there is that we have a subsisting court order, and the conversation should center around the content by the EFCC. You cannot be breaking the law and want constitutionalism to be the order of the day. They've broken the law. They've committed contempt by not respecting and restraining order from a governor. So that is the conversation right now, and the EFCC cannot continue to flounder the law. I think they should face the contempt charges.
So let's break this down properly, and we're going to get the benefit of a senior advocate of Nigeria, just his thoughts on this show. But we're talking about two court rulings now. One of the rulings is from Kogi State High Court, which we just put up for our viewers to see. And of that one restrained the EFCC from arresting, detaining, or prosecuting him. The EFCC appealed based on jurisdiction. And I mean, for the EFCC, they believe that the judge erred in the area of jurisdiction. Now, the other one, which gave the EFCC permission to arrest former governor, is from the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja. And I'd like you to take a listen to what Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Kayode Adilola, thinks about this, particularly about the jurisdiction and how it concerns agencies of government, particularly federal agencies. Then I'll get your thoughts on that. So let's listen to Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Kayode Adilola.
I believe that anyone who has gone through some legal training would know at what point in time his authority is being exceeded, whether as a legal practitioner or as a judge. If a matter is brought before a judge, what he needs to look at are two major things: the parties and the subject matter in the claim brought before him. If the High Court judge saw that the EFCC was a defendant, he simply should have told the parties that I will not be able to handle this matter, take it to the Federal High Court. But then again, the defendant, well, the claimant in this situation, say Yahaya Bello, was a governor only until, in the manner of speaking, yesterday. So, you know, you understand what I mean by that. So the judge probably felt he had a responsibility to him. It's not right. We should not allow jurisprudence to go to the dogs. We know when have no authority. The constitution is very clear. A federal government agency can only be sued at the Federal High Court. So we should, as lawyers, whether senior advocate or not, and as judges also, look at these matters carefully so that we do not act as though we're ignorant of these things. It's just not right.
So, Mr. Fawo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria says it is clear a federal agency can only be sued at a Federal High Court, and he sees this as an anomaly. Your thoughts?
Thank you very much. I want to say that I'm not a senior advocate of Nigeria, but I'm a senior advocate of logic and common sense. And, you know, the former governor approached the court for the protection of his fundamental human rights, except you want to say that state high courts do not have the jurisprudence to hear cases that has to do with the fundamental human right of the citizens of the state. You know, all the things they are talking about had to do with the government of Kogi State. All the accusation leveled against the former governor were said to have been perpetrated against when he was the governor of the state. So this is Kogi State, and he had approached a state high court to protect his fundamental human right. Except the senior advocates of Nigeria, who want to say that the state high court has no right to protect the fundamental right of the former governor. It's not about just suing the EFCC. It's not about instituting legal action against the EFCC. It is about the protection of the fundamental right of the former governor. And he has the right to do that, going by the history of the altercations between the state government and the EFCC in the past, and going by the kind of very ridiculous allegations that we see flying around today, then you know that he is his right to seek his fundamental human rights.